Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say what a great job these gentlemen are doing. I want to congratulate them on celebrating 25 years in existence, and want to wish them good luck, guys. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if I could please ask you all to stand for our Irish and American national anthem, sung by Maureen McNally.
Share the across the world on particular issues here. Just last month, my colleague, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Simon Coveney, held a range of meetings with high-level contacts. We do this all the time on the Hill and with members of the administration, during which he again, of course, stressed the importance of immigration reform. I do want to say to you tonight that we really do understand as a government how very important this issue is and how important it is to get those reforms that will in fact benefit so many communities. Be assured that our government and our consulates and embassies across the US remain deeply engaged on this important issue. I think you know that. I was delighted that the IPC was represented at the meeting of immigration centres hosted by Ambassador Mulhall in Washington in October. It's really important, and I've heard it today from the groups working with individuals. I heard about the individual stories. I also heard about the policy issues that are needed to be resolved in order to deal with this. I also, just before I finish, I do want to comment on the very important community development work that you do here as well. You know, as a social worker and as a mother of 3 boys, I was really, delighted to hear about your work with parents and toddlers. As Minister for Children, I emphasised again and again the importance of the early years. It's so important to support families and young children at an early stage to give them the very best start in life. And I also want to thank you for your work for the elderly in your community and in our community, many of whom in their day helped to forge those bonds of friendship and support which have bound the Irish community in Boston for decades. We know that. It's so important that we connect with our elderly, that they feel part of our community. They're not a category. We know that. It's about being part of the community, and you reach out to so many people in order to do that, and it is so important. So I would say to you that you have been a constant in a rapidly changing world, a world that's full of challenge for lots of people, but you have been that constant, offering that support and that guidance to both new arrivals and established families here. And as they navigate, that Míle with the layer. Thank you.
This is a Connemara Gaelic version. There's a double play on words. You'll hear the words orguij, agus orguijupta. Orguij is the food we eat. Orguijupta is the company we share. And the second half of it has also a double play on words. Kiani generally means to buy, but in the religious context it means spiritually. Bani sin hirna was to a kiani sin, bani sin. Bani orguij, agus orguijupta, trehil na seal. Amen. Translated, it's bless us, O Lord, bless the food, bless our food, our good, agus orguijupta, the company we share. As you have redeemed us, bless us, amen. No, that bit gets lost in English, but I hope you enjoyed it.
The Irish Pastors Center, I might add, an organization that has been very much part of my conception. You know what? I could get up here and talk for the longest period of time about different issues, and I kind of wander about things and experiences that I've had over these many years. I was born in a Polish neighborhood of Dorchester, South Boston, I was born in 1939, which, as you well know your history, Adolf Hitler occupied Poland in September 1st, 1939. And he drove the Jews into concentration camps, drove many of them out of the country, both in Germany and in Poland. And a lot of them a lot of the Polish Jews either went to Poland, I either went to Chicago, I went to school, I was roommate of the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Jim Daly, or they went to Boston. And so we got to know in Boston, one of the most immigrant appreciation cities in the world, really, when you think about it. A lot of it has to do with the Irish Catholic culture that we grew up with, social and economic justice. People ask me all the time, my politics, what is my politics? Well, I've worked with popes and presidents and prime ministers. But if I had to summarize it, I would say that I'm a John Paul II social and economic justice Democrat. And that means you respect immigrants, the poor, and the family. Don't ask me what party that is, I guess, but that's who I am. And it worked for me for a number of years. But living in the neighborhood that I did, I saw the best of the world. I saw the best of society. I saw immigrants at their best and also at their most depressed. But I saw people help each other. My church was Our Lady of Czestochowa, which is a Polish National Church across the street from where I live. If you know Boston Street, I live right next door to the Polish American Club. It's 86 Boston Street. And I love the people, I love the neighborhood. And I got to tell you one little story. I prepared very arduously for another speech that I was supposed to give here tonight. And it will be in the Boston Herald tomorrow. You're not going to hear it here tonight. Karol Wojtyła came to Boston, first Polish member of the clergy hierarchy, came to Boston, 1969, September of 1969. And he came to Angel Square, went over to Hyde Park, St. Albans, moved around a little bit. I met him again when I was attending Harvard over in 1976. He was in Philadelphia when I was playing ball down there. But anyway, here's a story that if people are curious, maybe you're not, but if you're curious about who I am and what I'm all about, what my politics is all about. We were at Karol Wojtyła came to Boston in 1969, September of 1969. You can search the newspapers in Boston, you won't see the story. He was not a significant person, supposedly, at the time. Can you believe that? A few people. And not a prominent, significant person that merited any kind of significant attention. The pilot put something in the paper, but that's about it. There was a big line after Mass, and it stretched out from here over to the bar, and people were mostly first-generation Poles. They were waiting to see the first Polish visitor, prominent visitor. He wasn't cardinal, he certainly wasn't Pope, and he was just ordained, he was just an auxiliary bishop of Krakow in Poland. So people came up, and it was an extraordinary event in this church hall. And people were coming up to him and talking to Karol Wojtyła in Polish. And then, this is 1969, I was not in politics. But when I went to Providence College, I studied economics. And one of the things that the Dominican fathers, Dominican priests taught us was economics, was social and economic justice. See, my friends, that's my politics. Social and economic justice. It's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's not a liberal, it's not conservative, it's Catholicism, my Catholic values and principles, and standing up and fighting for working class people and for poor and needy people. That's where I came from. My father was a dock worker. My mother cleaned office buildings all night long. Kathy's father was a dock worker. So this is the politics that we had. We didn't have any political contacts or influence, or special favoritism. We just were who we were. Because I was a bit of a basketball player, I was able to get a full scholarship to college. If it weren't for that, I never would have been able to go to college. I'd be, like my father and my brothers, I'd be a dock worker. And I loved that job. And I did. I'm the only person, I think, that has a lifetime membership in the International Longshoremen's Association. Well, anyway, I just want to tell this one little tidbit story because to me it sticks with me as an important story based on my Irish Catholic culture and roots. Finally, I got up to the, after waiting in this long line, I got up to the front of the stage, and who's up there but Cardinal Richard Cushing. Now, Cardinal Cushing, I was his newspaper boy in South Gloucester. I sold newspapers, delivered newspapers to Cardinal Cushing, and sold newspapers to him on Broadway in Rochester Street. And the reason why I remember it so well, because the newspapers were 3 cents, and he gave me a quarter. So, wouldn't you remember that kind of a guy? So, I walked up to finally it was my turn to be introduced to the future Pope, which, of course, no one would ever possibly imagine that he'd be the Pope, any more than they would imagine that I would be the United States ambassador to the Vatican. Well, anyway, I was introduced by Richard Cardinal Cushing, at the time was auxiliary bishop, and he said, "This is Ray Flynn," to the Caravoitia, which didn't mean anything to him, of course. He said, and there's a pause there, and he says, he's a famous athlete. He was an all-American basketball player at the time. That was my introduction at the time. Famous athlete, football player, basketball player, baseball player. And then it didn't resonate with Caravoitia. So Richard Cardinal Cushing, being a native son of Southie and Irish and Cork, he says he's a student. His father is a dock worker. And Richard Cardinal Cushing, Caravoitia said, Bishop Wojtyła said, yes, dock worker, meaning that he was familiar with dock workers. And that's when Hitler occupied Poland, September 1st. That's where he first confiscated and controlled the docks of Poland, up at Gdansk, up at the shipyard, the naval shipyard. The electrician, he was Lech Walesa was the president of Solidarność. Well, we got into this conversation, and he said to me, "You went to Providence College?" And I says, "Yes." He says, "What did you study?" I said, "I studied economics." "Oh, okay." I said, "Actually, I studied the papal encyclical of all the popes." That was my major. One of them was Rerum Novarum, which was the most celebrated, most important encyclical in the history of the Catholic Church. What it was about the rights of workers, the rights of people to live and work in a safe work environment, earn a just wage. Here it is, this future Pope, future mayor, future United States ambassador, talking about social and economic justice here right over here in Dorchester. My friends, that's my politics. And so you might ask, why am I telling that story here today? Because it's about you. Where do you think I got this? I got this from my Irish Catholic upbringing and family. Sure, I went to Harvard, and I went to Providence College, and I worked for popes, presidents, and prime ministers, but I learned it from people like you. My family, my faith, my church. You know, it's kind of interesting to me. I'm glad I'm here tonight, and thank you very much, Father Fenn, for inviting me. Because I haven't been here for a while, even though I was here when we first opened the doors at St. Mark's Church, right? St. Mark's Church in Dorchester. And the reason why I was so enamored with the Irish Pastoral Center, and it's kind of, I was telling the Prime Minister's the township, the story. The injustice that I've experienced, that I've witnessed, not against myself so much, because I don't want to be a victim, but the injustice that I've experienced, that I've watched, I've observed over the years against the Irish, against Catholics, against Poles, and now right up to this present time, is an extraordinary lesson for all of us. You know, I wonder where that voice that is going to bring us to a new day in America, where we understand, respect, and we fight for those values that we have, that we learned as simple Irish immigrant, children of immigrants coming to this city, coming to this country. My friends, there's a history that you deserve the full stage, but there's a challenge that we have to face, and that is we have to fight for what we believe in once again. Woo! Think about have we forgotten the Irish when they came to America, to this city? Have we forgotten that? Help wanted signs in Tremont Street, downtown Boston. Help wanted a pie with their underneath it. No Catholics, no Irish need a pie. You know, are those days over? No. The legislation still says that you can't support Catholic kids going to school in tuition tax credits. That's prohibitive. You can't do that anymore. And that goes way back to the Know-Nothing era. I guess here's my point. The Irish Pastoral Center has been in the front lines of fighting for poor people, for immigrants, all immigrants, particularly Irish. I remember 1987 when they first opened the doors. I was mayor of Boston. I got phone calls from Irish men and women. If they wanted to cash their check, it cost 15% of what they earned in that check to go, because they were undocumented. It had to go to the person who ran that financial institution. That's incredible. 15%. If you made $200, you paid $30 to the person. Now, if you weren't undocumented, they cashed the check for you and you paid 2%. And I saw that and I said, why is this a story? Why are these people being discriminated? because they could be persecuted, because they could be discriminated, because that's the way it was at the time. For all of us who have done well, achieved status, just remember there are a lot of people among us that haven't achieved this status. We still have a fight and a challenge ahead of us. People who work in hotels, people who work as bartenders, people who work as maids. My mother was a maid. Kathy's mother was a maid. They get no money. They get very little money. If they got tips, they had to put the tips back into the corporate company. We have a challenge to do. America's a great country. We're proud of it. We're proud to be Americans. But America's challenge is about to hit us. We're going backwards, my friends. We're going backwards. We may be the greatest military power in the world, but we're not the most committed to social and economic justice. We need you. We need the Irish Pastoral Center and people who kind of advocate for that kind of point of view. We need them back out the front line again. This is a new challenge for America. And I just hope that, like what I saw on the docks in Boston, in South Boston, where men and women were getting hurt, were dying. My father went to the hospital for 5 years because of the adverse environmental conditions on the docks. Kathy's father got hit with a ton of steel, lost his leg. And it took a Catholic priest, Michael, right? It took a Catholic priest to get out in front of the shipping industry to make sure that they improved the working conditions for those dock workers, those immigrant dock workers. My friends, the immigrant of America are you. It's me. It's the President of the United States, whether he wants to understand it or not. That's the challenge that we have today. I wish that more of America were like you, that were involved, that were committed, that were advocates for social and economic justice. But what we have to do is we have to speak and defend and fight for those people who can't fight for themselves. I appreciate this honor here tonight. Why are they giving me this statue, this picture of Michael Collins in conclusion? My grandfather, Mike Kirby, named after Bishop Kirby, was from Clonakilty. He was from Clonakilty. My grandfather fought for the West Cork Brigade, and my whole family did in Cork. And he fought with Michael Collins. When Michael Collins' body was being exhumed from down below to Glasnevin up in Dublin, the President of the United States invited me to escort the body to the cemetery. My grandmother's a Collins. I don't know how close, I don't know the exact relationship, but you know what? Every time I'm down here, we probably having a couple of beers, I say he's my first cousin. My friends, thank you for this extraordinary honor. I am honored to be with you. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Ireland.